What is good, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you listening to the pod, man. Last Word Productions, your host of ours, Wilson, as always, and I get the last word, as we all know by now. Gonna be a little solo dolo preview show tonight for the Dolphins game. As we all know, they're taking on the New England Patriots tomorrow, 1 Eastern. For those who don't know, it will be in Foxborough, so the Dolphins will be on the road. And there's a lot to talk about. And before we get started, let me just go ahead and say this and get this out the way. Excuse me if you hear my dog in the background. He's going crazy right now. But if you're not already, be sure to like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Be sure to follow on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I'm everywhere, man. Last Word Productions. Just look it up. 9 out of 10 times, I'm on there, regardless of the social platform. So before we get into the nitty gritty of the actual game itself, we got to talk about the injuries going into this game. And both teams are battling pretty much significant losses this week. Um, I know David Andrews, the center for the New England Patriots, has been placed on IR. Not sure how long he will be designated to be on IR, but I do know he'll be eligible to return after 4 weeks. Jabril Peppers will also miss this game as well. I know Kyle Duggar, was banged up. I know Mac Jones, not Mac Jones, the other corner, Jones. I can't remember his last name right now. First name, he was banged up. So the Patriots got a pretty banged up secondary, and the Dolphins are going to have to find a way to take advantage of some of that because they need it at this point, and rightfully so. They're going to have to earn back the belief that people once had in this offense. And getting Odell Beckham and Raheem Mostert could actually bolster that belief. Both guys are pretty much set to return at this point to take on the Patriots this week. Now, they both haven't been confirmed to be playing, but the direction they were going in practice this week, they should be playing. Odell is now within his 21 days to be reactivated onto the active roster. They made moves to free up a spot for Odell or him or Cam Smith because they both are within their 21-day window. So I expect Odell to be playing. Now, does that mean I expect Odell to come out there and light the world on fire? No. I mean, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle haven't necessarily done that themselves, and they're your best two receivers. Odell isn't going to come in and just turn into his prime just because he's now quote unquote healthy. So it's it's an addition for sure because he's by far and large your third best receiver on this team. I mean, outside of him, you got who Braxton Berrios and Malika Washington. I mean, there's not much to compete with. So I feel like getting Odell back could do nothing but help the team out, even if he only plays two, maybe three offensive possessions. I mean, that is still better than what you've been getting from the other guys who've been in the rotation thus far, whether it's Eskridge, whether it's the boys, whether it's Eric Izukama or it's Robbie Chosen, excuse me. Like it doesn't matter. He's going to be better than anyone you trotted out there up to this point. So we gotta take that with a grain of salt. That it is a subtle and slight improvement, with significant improvement in terms of the skill sets they all have towards in comparison to one another. Excuse me, but terrible news coming out in the Dolphin world though. Jalen Phillips actually did post on his Instagram not too long ago, a couple of days ago, that he will be shut down for the remainder of the season with a knee injury, the same knee he has suffered a ruptured Achilles tendon in. And from what I've seen and from what I've read, it is a torn ACL. So that's just absolutely devastating and gut wrenching for a guy that's I know worked his tail off to get back to where he is now because a lot of people didn't think he would be able to start the year. And not only did he start the year, but he played good snaps. Like he played significant snaps. And it's just unfortunate to see a guy who worked so hard to come back and just be there for his team, his teammates, excuse me, to go down with an injury like that. At first, it was a non-contact injury. He first looked like he kind of, triggered something. But then after the play with Porter, it really got it really got down to the nitty gritty there, and it was no going back from it. So unfortunately, Jalen Phillips is shut down for a minute of the year now. It's a lot of questions that need to be raised and asked about Jalen Phillips now at this point, whether or not they view him as a commodity that needs to return to his team in terms of what they're going to do with him in the future. Because, yeah, they can kind of kick the pebbles down the road for a year, maybe two, with his fifth year option next year and a franchise tag. They could do that. But at some point, you got to make a decision on whether or not you think he's worth signing to a long term extension. And I want y'all to keep in mind, edge rushers are making huge money these days. I mean, Josh Hines Allen got $100 million contract, and I know Danielle Hunter signed a 2-year deal that was worth, I believe, $50 million, if and or like 48 million to 50 million, something like that with Houston. So these edge rushers are making anywhere between 18 to 20 plus annually now. So they're not coming to cheap, especially when you have someone that's talented. Like, and these days, the NFL, people are getting paid off of talent, not necessarily the production they produced on the field. So it's going to be a tricky negotiation in terms of what they do with Jalen Phillips, because I don't see how they could possibly make a return with him on this team for the long term when he's literally, for one, let's be honest, he's showed glimpses and peaks of what he could be, but he's never put together a full season. At least not a dominant stretches of games where you have some pass rushers like Danielle Hunter, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, like guys who are the upper echelons. Even if you go a few notches below those guys, you go to the Brian Burns of the world, you go to the like who I mentioned earlier, the Danielle Hunters of the world. Hell, even Andrew Van Ginkel. You go to the Andrew Van Ginkels of the world, or even my boy Rashawn Gary for the Packers. These guys, each and every week, are making plays that can be the difference in games. And he's just never had a stretch of games, in my opinion, where he's just always has constantly been a factor. He's played in games where you will forget he's playing. And one of the games just this season against Buffalo, you would have forgot he was playing. He didn't do anything impactful in that game whatsoever in the slightest. And in the Seattle game, in my opinion, again, not that great, not that impactful. Of a guy of his caliber, his talent, he has to be better. So the injuries aren't helping his case, and it's not helping his case that when he is on the field, he's not a consistent threat. So it's going to be hard to make an argument for why they should extend him in terms of a long-term contract. We'll see how the future plays out. This team does have a tendency to sign injury-prone players, so I guess that works in his favor. But we'll see how it works out in its totality for his career and whether or not that continues with the Dolphins. But let's get off into the game itself, man. We talked about some of the injuries enough. Like I said earlier, Raheem Mostert, Odell Beckham, Cam Smith, all these guys are set to come back. Teron Armstead and Kendall Fuller are also set to come back. They both have been progressing throughout the concussion protocol, and they look to both be making a return to the field this week. And they're going to need it because, simply put, you need all hands on deck to win any game at this point. This team has looked abysmal and just downright dreadful for the last 2 weeks. I mean, if we're being honest, 3 weeks. So this isn't the time to not have as many reinforcements as you can and calling in the cavalry. You need something because let's just call it what it is. At this point, you're getting nothing out of the quarterback situation and you're getting nothing out of the head coach. Adjustments are not being made. The quarterbacks are not playing well, regardless of who is quarterbacking. It's just not happening. So they have to play better and they have to be better all across the board. And what that starts with is health. You have to be healthy first and foremost because you're not doing anything for anyone on the sideline watching. They have to play. Raheem Mostert has to play. I seen Devon A. Chain left the game limping a little bit last week. Hopefully he's all right. It wasn't nothing on The reports by any accounts, he should be good. So that's a good thing. But you need Raheem Mostert to play. You need him to play well because the ineffectiveness of the rushing attack is also taking a toll on the passing game. Because now teams, they don't need to fill or add one to the box. They can just play coverage and they have faith that their front seven or their front six is more than enough to stop a rushing attack that's been ineffective damn near the whole year. Really the whole year, for being honest. So they have to find a rhythm there somehow, some way. And I know a lot of people believe Raheem Mostert will come back and help bolster that. I got to see it because the first game of the year, he ain't looked good either. I mean, I think he had what? I know he only averaged like 1 yard a clip, so it was he didn't he wasn't lighting the world on fire when he was playing. So I get it, it's 1 week, but at the end of the day, again, you can only go off of what you see and what has been shown. And what's been shown so far, no matter who's at running back, it's been scarce to come behind good yards. And Jalen Wright has showed some things. He's actually had some pretty good runs. It's just a simple fact that he's not getting enough touches. So not only do they have to run the ball better, but they have to stay consistent with trying to run the ball. And that's been a plague of this team for forever now, with especially under Mike McDaniel. So they have to get better at that point blank period. And that's how you're gonna help out Tyler Huntley, who is set to make his second straight start for the Dolphins on the road against a team, regardless of who tries out there for the Patriots. The Patriots seem to always make games interesting until the very end. Now, yeah, in recent memory, the Dolphins have owned the Patriots because they've just been talent deprived, and the Dolphins have simply put out a better team. But this year it might be a little bit more even because the quarterback play in the offense has been so abysmal. They may be able to compete in this game. So the Dolphins, simply put, they have to be on their P's and Q's to win this game. And that says a lot when you're going up against a team, again, in the Patriots, that probably boasts the league's worst offense. And we thought we was good with the Titans last week, who came in 0-3 at home, but we weren't. So we have to see what everything comes down to. So let's get into some keys to the game. And before I get into the keys to the game, excuse me, I apologize. We got to get into who we believe has the edge where in each position before we get into the keys to the game. So between the two quarterbacks, Jacoby Brissett, I heard some murmurs and rumors that Drake May is supposed to be making his first start. Not sure how true that is. I haven't really seen anyone confirm it. So I'm going to assume Jacoby Brissett is going to play. It's going to be him and Tyler Huntley. Got to get an edge Jacoby Brissett. Experienced player. Seldomly makes mistakes. He doesn't really beat himself. He's not going to make game-changing plays, but he ain't going to make game-losing plays. So got to get an edge to him. Go to the running back situation. I get an edge to the Patriots again. Ramondre Stevenson, Antonio Gibson. At this point in the season, they've been the better dynamic duo and threat in the backfield than what the Dolphins has had all year. So I had to get that edge to them. And also get them the line in terms of the trenches, because even without Andrews, they still have a solid offensive line. They still are able to run block well. And if you could do that, you got a chance against Miami, as we see. So I get them three advantages off the muscle right there. But then you get the receiver, and that's clear as day, the Dolphins' advantage. I mean, even with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle both struggling, you're getting Odell Beckham back. Like I said, he's not really a needle mover, but at the same time, he's significantly better than whoever the hell you had as a receiver 3 option. And Patriots are full of guys who are not that good or not proven, whether it's Polk, whether it's KJ Osborne, whether it's, whoever else you want to talk about. Like, they don't have proven talent over there that you need to be worried about. So I get an edge to the Dolphins on that. Now, on the defensive side, the front 7, including the linebackers and the front 4, this one is kind of tough to call because both teams are dealing with injuries. David Long is supposed to be back. So I will edge the Dolphins slightly, but I don't feel great about it. I think their linebacker plays a little better. I know one of the starting linebackers for the Patriots is hurt. He may not play, but we'll see. Secondary, I get an edge to the Dolphins as well. So I think the Dolphins have the better overall defense. And in terms of coaching, I wish I could say I can give the edge to Mike McDaniel over a first year coach, but I just can't at this point. Jared Mayo, he's been he's been playing some pretty solid teams. They played the Jets, they played the Bengals, uh, they just played the Niners. He's been having the luck of the draw, man, and they've been competitive in some of these games. So he's doing a good job coaching. The Dolphins have played some of the worst teams in the league, and they look abysmal. I mean, you barely scraped by the 0-4 Jaguars, and you got the brakes beat off you by the 0-3 Tennessee Titans coming into the game. I mean, it's not really looking promising. So I gotta go with the Patriots, man. I gotta give Mayo his flowers. I give him the edge this week over McDaniel. Special teams, not really writing anything home about either unit for either side of the ball. Both have solid kickers. The punters have been okay. Jake Bailey has been good this year. But special team units, man. I mean, when you don't know the rules, like the Dolphins didn't know last week, it's hard to say you got the edge over anyone when you literally don't know the literal rules. So I gotta go with New England on this. It's unfortunate, but I think they're a more disciplined team and we're a coach team. I think that's the difference between a good special teams unit or not. So with that being said, let's get into my score prediction, who I believe will take this game and why. And matter of fact, before I even get into my score prediction, because my score prediction is going to bother me, let me give y'all three things I think the Miami Dolphins need to do in order to win the game. And my bad, y'all, I'm all over the place, but I gotta say this right here, right now, because without these three things, I don't think it's a chance in hell they win. First and foremost, they have to run the ball. You have to run the ball, even if it's not working. Continuously run the ball. You got to wear this team out. You got to keep them honest and on their toes. That's the only way you're going to be able to take advantage of a weakened secondary that's going to be without Jabril Peppers, arguably their best defensive player. And it might be without the other one who's arguably the best defensive player, Kyle Duggar. So you have to keep this team honest. You have to run the ball, and you have to make it effective or make it a factor in the game. Second thing for me, honestly speaking, and truth be told, they have to make adjustments. And when I say adjustments, I'm talking specifically on the offensive side of the ball. They cannot, and I know this is asking a lot from Mike McDaniel because he has shown to the capability of making zero adjustments. They cannot go into this game with the same game plan thinking it's going to work. If they do that, they're going to get the brakes free off them once again. And you go back to back weeks losing to the Titans and the Patriots, two teams that were coming into this season. People weren't already not high on, and now they're even lower on them. At that point, anything on the table is fair game. Whether it's someone being fired, or someone losing their starting position, anything at that point is fair game. You cannot go into this game losing this game. You have to make adjustments. You have to play with the personnel you have, and you have to make a game plan for Tyler Huntley to be the best version of himself, whatever that may be. But what I know is it wasn't last week, so they got to make a better game plan for the man. And the last thing I'm gonna say is, don't beat yourself, man. Like whether it's turnovers, whether it's ill-advised flags, or whether it's miscues on either side of the ball, whether it's giving up a large run, don't beat yourself. Play fundamentally sound. Play knit and tucked, just don't beat yourself, man. This team has been beating themselves on top of the fact they're not already playing well. Don't beat yourself. The Patriots routinely tend to not be a poor team in terms of flags and penalties. They tend to be one of the more disciplined teams, organizations we've seen. So 9 out of 10 times, they're not going to beat themselves. So you can't afford to. Because if you're racking up penalties and they probably have 5, 6 less penalties than you, you're not playing the numbers game well, the chains. You're playing behind the chains. And you can't afford to do that on the road against a divisional opponent. Regardless of what their record may say, this is a divisional opponent. You have to be on your P's and Q's. We see the Rams literally beat the Niners without Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. You got to be on it. But with all that being said, now I'm going to actually finally get into my score prediction, guys. And unfortunately, it's another week. I have another Dolphins loss. I think the Patriots win 17-13, 17-14. So that'll be it for me, guys. I just don't have the faith in this team right now. But be sure to like, subscribe to the channel, drop a like, drop a follow, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. I'm everywhere. So see y'all later. Peace.